Introductory comments. As a courtesy, please make sure that you've got your cell phones silenced tonight. If any final action taken tonight, you choose to appeal it, it normally would take effect 5 working days following the meeting unless a written appeal to the Planning Commission decision is filed in the Planning Office by April 29th at 5 p.m. In the event of appeal, then the decision would be referred to the County Commission for a hearing on May 21st at 9 a.m. The meetings of the County Commission are held in the same room. So at this time, the Planning Commission will consider the consent agenda. The minutes of the March 25th meeting are included as part of the consent agenda. Are there any objections to the consent agenda from the Planning Commission?
I don't have an objection. I have a question.
Sure.
On number 3, that's just like one of those 1 year only, has to be renewed every year on the fireworks thing on the Wall Lake Corner?
No, that would be continuous. I mean, only one time a year, but if you approve this, it would be, they wouldn't have to come back.
Unless there's complaints and it comes before us.
Right.
Okay.
And nobody called on it, so.
Any objections from the Planning Commission? All right, hearing none, then I'm going to read each item for the public, the consent agenda. If you have any objections to the item you want to move to the regular agenda, please raise your hand and it will be moved to the regular agenda. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the March 25th meeting. The second item is a conditional use permit, 13-022 to exceed 1,200 square feet of accessory building. They're requesting 3,360 feet, and this is at 46702 Sage Street, West Acres subdivision. Item number 3 is a conditional use permit to allow a temporary fireworks stand. This is located 1 mile north of the Wall Lake Corner. The fourth item is a rezoning to rezone from A1 agricultural to C commercial, and this is on the north side of Rowena. Item 5, a conditional use permit to allow a banquet reception hall with off-street parking, and this is located at 26665 481st Street, or Avenue, excuse me, 1/2 mile south of Iverson Crossing. Number 6 is a conditional use permit to transfer 1 residential building eligibility from the southeast quarter of section southeast quarter to the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter. This is located 1 mile north of Crooks Runner exit. Number 7 is a conditional use permit to transfer 3 residential building eligibilities with a bunch of legal description. It's located 3 miles northeast of Brandon. I'd be happy to read the legal description if you want to get some entertainment. Item number 8 is a conditional use permit to exceed 1,200 square feet of accessory building. 1350 is being requested, and this is at 48390 266th Street, 1 mile northeast of Rowena. And number 9 is a preliminary plan for the Meadows, which is on the west side of Hartford. And that one is going to be deferred, is that correct? So it's
yes,
actually
at the request of the petitioner.
To defer it.
Indefinitely.
Indefinitely.
I got a question on that. When we, as I see it's called tabling the item, I mean there's a difference in the procedure to bring it back off the table or deferral. If we do this, is it like tabling?
It's basically a deferral. I put that in there so lay people that read the agenda would understand it's going to be quite a while.
It's indefinite?
Yeah.
So we're ahead to call it an indefinite deferral rather than table because of maybe the...
Yeah, that's
what I
fine.
was wondering, or
yeah,
you know, because we have to have a separate action to take
bring
something
it back
off the table with a 2/3.
Yeah.
This is an indefinite
yeah,
deferral.
indefinite deferral.
Okay.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Mark.
If we want to get these discussed, we just make mention of that this time.
Right, please.
I'd like to hear a little about number 5, please.
Number 5, which is a conditional use permit to allow a banquet and reception hall. Is that the correct one? Okay. Any other objections from the audience on the consent agenda? Then I'd entertain a motion to approve the regular agenda, which is item number 5.
No,
We need to-
you want to approve the
gotta
consent
approve the
agenda
consent agenda
without
first.
item
Without
5.
item 5.
Without item 5, you.
I'll move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a question then.
Okay.
Does that include item 10?
No, 10, I think we have to do separately as a
Yeah,
zoning
10
board of
is
adjustment.
Okay,
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
thank you.
Yep. So a motion, is there a second then to, is there, okay.
Yeah.
So a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, moving item 5 to the regular agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so then we will hear first from the staff, and then we'll take comments from the audience on item number 5. And Dustin, you have that one?
All right, item number 5, conditional use permit 13-025. The applicant has applied for a conditional use permit to allow a banquet/reception hall in the Perry Plan Development District to have the required spaces off-site from the property with the subject use on it. Just a kind of a quick idea here. I believe this is just the site plan for it. Lot 2 here is where the banquet hall is going to be. Banquet halls, reception halls are allowed in the Prairie Plan Development District, so this is an allowed use. The only thing that this conditional use permit is pertaining to is to the parking requirement. So according to Article 15-01 of the 1990 revised zoning ordinance, parking spaces for all structures shall be located on the same site as the structure such parking is intended to serve, except that by conditional use permit, parking may be located within 300 feet of the use it is intended to serve. So because the banquet hall is located on the 1 acre lot 2 and cannot fit all of the parking on lot 2, the petitioner has applied for a conditional use permit to have the remaining required parking on lot 1. And that is what the conditional use permit is pertaining to. Just to give a quick summary of this, and I'm just going ahead and do it now because it's the same property for the variance. On October 12th, 2012, staff met with the representatives for the project and discussed allowing the banquet/reception hall. At that time, we discussed that we would need to amend the Perry Plan Development District to allow those. That's such use. Also during that time we discussed that this would be a part of the Red Rock Corridor Overlay District in which further standards would needed to be met beyond the 1990 revised zoning ordinance. On October 23rd, staff received a site plan of 1/2 acre that was not sufficient in size for the building itself plus the parking and all the setback requirements. After talking with the petitioner again, we then brought the text amendment to allow the banquet/reception hall to the Planning Commission and the County Commission on December 18th of 2012 is when we adopted the new amendment that would allow banquet/reception halls in the Perry Plan Development District. So these uses were, this use was changed to be allowed during that meeting. On January 22nd, the applicant submitted a plat for lots 1 and 2 that are before you today, even though a site plan had not been approved for the subject petition for the banquet/reception hall. On March 15th, a site plan was filed with the planning office that did not meet the requirements of the lot. We had discussions with the applicant. On the 18th of March of 2013, another site plan was filed with corrections that, however, still did not meet all of the requirements. On March 20th of 2013, staff held a meeting with the applicant to address the issues that were still missing. And after those discussions, we realized that the parking would not be able to be met on lot 2. And so that was where we determined the need to apply for this conditional use permit to allow the additional required parking on lot 1 of tract 1 of GN's addition. So we look at 5 things when we're discussing conditional use permits. The first is the effect of the use upon the enjoyment and other property in the immediate vicinity. Like I said, this is just for the parking, not the use. So the proposed parking plan will have little impact on neighboring properties. The construction of the required parking spaces on lots 1 and 2 shall not impede the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. The second thing we look at is the effect of the normal and orderly development of the surrounding vacant properties. The proposed parking should have no impact on the further construction or development within the subdivision or the general area. The parking for lots 1 and 2 should be for the banquet/reception hall that is on lot 2. The third thing that we look at is utilities, access roads, drainage facilities that are provided. Access is proposed to be off of 481st Street, or Avenue, excuse me, and it will be a joint access as shown on the site plan between the two lots. Rural water will be extended to the building and a septic system will be provided for the on-site wastewater system. The fourth thing is off-street parking requirement, and that's what we're looking at with this conditional use permit. The applicant subdivided the land into 2 1-acre parcels before receiving site plan approval. Therefore, this is its only remedy to allow the proposed facility with the required parking, because it does need to expand to the lot 1 to accommodate the required 66 parking spaces that's required based on the size of the facility. The last thing that we look at is if it's going to have any offensive odors, fumes, dust, noise, vibrations. There shouldn't be anything that would cause a nuisance to the surrounding properties based on this use. Staff has found that the conditions that we have provided with the conditional use permit should help ensure that if the required spaces are to be split or sold, because these aren't 2 separate lots, there could be an instance where lot 1 were to be sold off and then lot 2, where the proposed use would fall short on its parking requirement. So in that case, we have put a condition that if any portion of the required parking were to be sold off in a future reference, then this site would have to immediately come back in for a site plan review process so that we can look again at the occupancy of the building as well as the required parking spaces and such. So staff is recommending approval of the conditional use, which addresses the parking on lots 1 and 2 with the following conditions: that if any portion of the required parking is split or sold to another property owner, the site shall immediately go through that site plan review process. And number 2, that the property shall be in conformance with the 1990 revised zoning ordinance for Minnehaha County, which includes the Red Rock Corridor Overlay District standards. So just to reiterate, the use is a permitted use. It is allowed. Doesn't need a conditional use permit to have a banquet or a reception hall in the Perry Planned Development District. This conditional use is just to allow the required, I think it's about 20 spaces that can't fit on lot 2 to be on lot 1.
Okay. And before we have questions for Dustin, I failed to mention for those of you in the audience that were here for any items on the consent agenda, those items were approved, so you're free to go or hang around for the fun if you'd like. So, your call. So, any questions for Dustin?
I had a question on conditional, item number 1. One of the stipulations for approval was get a permit for the approach off of Buckeye Street.
Oh.
I don't know if I can bring that up, but that approach already exists. So I didn't know if
Then you can just ignore it.
then I don't need to do
Nope,
that. for
you don't need to.
I just
Nope.
want to make you aware of that.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Thank you. So for Dustin, any questions on item
Just
number
quickly,
5?
so this comes back again with all the list of everything required, paving, all this kind of stuff, lighting, all that, or is that all in the Red Rock Corridor?
Basically, it's a permitted use under the zoning ordinance, because we amended the zoning ordinance to allow this. So all they have to do is meet the standards of the 1990 revised zoning ordinance in the Red Rock Corridor Overlay District. So they're basically, like I indicated, they have submitted a number of site plans. Basically, they have to be able to provide us a site plan that meets all the standards before they are allowed to use that use on that property. And so one of the, so landscaping is what we're going to be addressing with the variance. The septic system, the water, the access, the setbacks, the parking. Now these are the parking that we're discussing here are the required spaces which have to be paved. They probably will have overflow on lot 1 too, that won't have to be paved, but they have to be required to have 66 parking spaces paved, plus their loading dock that it's kind of hard to see on the site plan, but it's there. So basically they're going through a site plan review process. These are the landscaping, which we'll discuss in a minute, and the parking were the two biggest items that still need to be addressed through either conditional use or a variance because they're not able to meet the requirements that are set forth within the zoning ordinance.
And this falls within that, I know when you do the Red Rock Quarter Plan, this was that commercial wedge that came down.
Yeah, this is part of the Perry Plan Development District, which this is sub-area F, which is a 12-acre parcel, which is calls out for certain commercial uses. And that's why we had to amend the zoning ordinance to allow banquet/reception halls in this sub-area because it wasn't called out before. So back in December when we amended, the county commission amended that, now they are allowed. And it was because of this applicant coming in and requesting that.
Question about the parking. You're saying that 66 of those parking places have to be paved.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that what's the maximum amount that can be there then, besides those?
Well, according to the building code, the occupancy for the building is 320. The building itself is 6,600 square feet. 4,600 is banquet hall area. 2,000 of that is kitchen area, prep area, garage. So we based the parking spaces were based off of one space per 100 square feet of building area.
Does it stipulate in like the Red Rock Quarter what like the facade of this building has to look like?
We didn't call out the facade. We did call out it can't be like a highly reflective lime green, color or something.
So it
that
could be
would,
like kind of like I would call like the Hy-Vee banquet hall out by T. It could look something like that. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's
Yeah,
what you
no.
see at Morton Building with a little Mansford on the front.
I probably have them somewhere. I do have a photo of the facade that they're proposing.
So I guess the main thing I didn't want to know if this was going to sort of look like the landscape place to the east.
No, it's not going to look like that. No.
Question, how wide is the driveway then? It's going to be split with the two properties?
They have not gotten the driveway permit from the county highway department yet. With the county highway, and I've had discussions with the county highway. We're going to have them required a 36-foot driveway, which will allow for one in and two outs, so a left and a right out and a one in, which will help accommodate the in and out traffic going into this facility and out. And the highway discussed that they'd like that joint access between the two lots so that they can limit the number of accesses that go into this commercial area in the future. There is one access that already is up further north for this, the 12 acres, or the 10 acres that is still north of here. And so this access, that's why we have them propose the joint access for lots 1 and 2.
Any other questions for Dustin? Is the petitioner here? Just come forward. Go ahead.
Sam Assam on behalf of Matt Spurry. I didn't realize until last year when I started having nieces getting married how tough it was to find a place to have a reception after the wedding and have the dining facilities and everything. Mr. Sapari has been in the catering business for quite a number of years, and this is his dream to build a nice facility out there, not a Morton style structure, but rather have EFS on the front, so it's a nice looking building. And the sole reason what you're seeing is going on between item 5 and item 10 is financing. He's trying to put more money into the building, less money into the land. I'm selling him lot 1 under a contract for deed, so lot 2 has been purchased outright. He wants to use the remainder of the SBA funding to put it into the facility to make it nicer. And then we're doing seller financing on lot 1. So no different than if you went to the bank. In this case, though, it's it's a company that I own along with a partner that owns Lot 1, and we're just simply providing self-financing. So ultimately, he will also own Lot 1. In fact, he will have an equitable interest in it, just subject to the payment on the contract for deed. That's it. So he's actually going to own both parties, and why this was done in a two-tiered fashion, again, was just to make the facility, so he could have the funds to make the facility that much nicer. That's the sole reason. So this is a financing thing. We talked with Pat and Dustin when we were doing this, and that's a solution that we came up with. And it was also our suggestion that, hey, nobody's trying to pull anything over on the county here. We're okay with keeping the thumb on, so that if, let's say, he defaulted and it went back, it has to come back to you folks again. So nobody's trying to skate or escape anything here. That's not the intent.
Questions for Mr. Hassan?
Okay, thank you.
Anyone from the audience want to speak to this item? What's your pleasure?
Move for approval with whatever conditions apply.
Second.
Second to approve with conditions. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. All right. If I'm not mistaken, at this point we need to adjourn as the Planning Commission and reconvene as the Zoning Board of Adjustment. We need a motion to do that?
Yes, please.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
I think we just lost the sun, though.
What's that?
The sun was out for a minute.
Okay, so as a Zoning Board of Adjustment, we have one item tonight, which is item 10 on our agenda, which is a variance to eliminate the required 15-foot landscaping buffer. And Dustin has that one as well.
All right, so variance 13-03 is to eliminate the required 15-foot landscape buffer. We just talked about this item, so I'm going to try to skim through this presentation as much as possible. The applicant is requesting the approval to eliminate the landscaping buffer between lots 1 and 2. Currently, the landscaping buffer is shown in the site plan on the screen. These properties are within the sub-area F of the Perry Plan Development District and are subject to the Red Rock Corridor Overlay District, in which the landscaping is called out in the Overlay District. The Overlay District regulations require a 15-foot landscaping buffer for each commercial property, and that's according to Article 11-10-03 of the 1990 Revised Zoning Ordinance. If you looked at the reports, there were some charts that were in there. Basically, between commercial properties, each commercial property is required to have a 15-foot landscaping buffer. So because this is divided into 2 one-acre lots, even though it's the same ownership and same property, there's a required 15-foot landscaping buffer on both this, the south and the north of lots 1 and 2. Actually, with regards to that landscaping, and there hasn't been a site plan approved for this, and it's not on here, there will be a required landscaping along the north of lot 1 too. But that is not what the petitioner is requesting to get rid of. It's just the landscaping between lots 1 and 2, because he is potentially owning both of those, and that's where the property is, or the use is going to be. Just to kind of reiterate some of the things that happened, there was numerous site plans being back and forth between staff and the applicant. I believe after the site plan that was submitted on the 21st, which is this site plan here, we had discussions with the applicant in which we talked about the parking and the landscaping. Those were the 2 major items that weren't being met on the site plan, and that is why we did the conditional use permit for the parking, and the landscaping is being brought forth to you because the applicant does not want to meet that condition of the zoning ordinance. So we look at 5 things when we're discussing variances. The first being that specific circumstances or conditions exist on the property. So not all situations or events can be covered by the zoning ordinance, and thus a mechanism is put into place to allow the public to seek a variation to their regulations, and that's what the variance is for tonight. In this situation, there are not any compelling set of circumstances or conditions which are somewhat unique that support a granting of a variance. The applicant subdivided the land into 2 1-acre parcels prior to receiving a site plan approval for the development. The applicant indicated that the reason for subdividing it into 2 1-acre parcels was for financing reasons. However, staff doesn't believe that a financial hardship is an adequate reason to eliminate the zoning regulations for these sites. The second thing that we look at is that a variance does not grant a use which is not otherwise allowed in the zoning district. The banquet/reception hall is allowed under the Perry Plan Development District. We went through that process to allow this reception halls in that sub-area F, and so that's not an issue here. The third thing is that due to specific circumstances or existing conditions, strict application of the zoning ordinance would be an unwarranted hardship. Strict application of the zoning ordinance would not be an unwarranted hardship. The applicant was supplied the Red Rock Corridor Overlay District standards, the zoning ordinance standards prior to platting the 2 lots off and prior to getting site plan approval. So they were aware of these issues. Once again, it was because of financial reasons that they did it this way. The fourth thing is that granting a variance is not contrary to the public interest. The purpose of the Red Rock Corridor Overlay District was to maximize the corridor's potential development while ensuring development is aesthetically pleasing and compatible with the existing and future land uses. Eliminating the landscaping requirement could potentially diminish the purpose of the overlay district by not enforcing the landscaping requirements for this such use could lead to future issues with enforcing it down the road. And the fifth thing that we look at is that because circumstances or conditions, there is no possibility that the property can be developed in strict conformity with the provisions of the zoning ordinance, and that authorization of the variance is therefore necessary to enable reasonable use of the property. The proposed banquet/reception hall is permitted for the property. The application for the variance is basically for the aesthetics of the property, and denying the variance does not prohibit the reasonable use of the property for a banquet/reception hall use. So based on those 5 things and the history of how we went about this process, staff does not believe that there is an unwarranted hardship created by the zoning ordinance. Therefore, staff is recommending denial of 13003 to eliminate the landscaping buffer between lots 1 and 2. Just a quick side note on the process of this. We need a 66% vote for a variance from the entire. So there's 5 of you. All 5 of you either have to vote for approval or denial on this variance for it to either be approved or denied. If we have a split decision, the variance obviously fails, which then means it's denied as well. So if there is, if you wish to approve the variance to allow the elimination of the landscaping, then it would have to be a 5-0 vote for approval of the variance. Otherwise, any other result would represent a denial for this application.
Mr. Chair, that's a denial which could be appealed though, right?
To circuit court.
Commissioners, questions for Dustin?
Yeah, Dustin. So as we look at that site plan right now, okay, so that means on the bottom, which would be the south, I believe, that means they've got 15 feet along there, they can't plant anything in, right? Or that's where could they plant trees along there as a screening?
According to down here?
Yes, down there.
Well, the way that the Red Rock Corridor overlay, they could plant something down there if they wish to.
Okay.
The way the zoning ordinance, the overlay district reads, is it separates, it requires the landscaping buffer between, it doesn't require it between commercial and ag. And so to the south is ag use.
That's what I was wondering.
So there's no buffer between ag and a commercial or industrial or any type of development like that. because we didn't want to put that. I mean, we're up against ag most of the time when we do these. What it did call out is that in commercial developments, between commercial lots or commercial and industrial lots, or industrial, or commercial and residential, there's a chart. So between a residential and a commercial, there's a 30-foot buffer that the commercial property is required to have. The residential wouldn't be required of a buffer, it'd be the commercial property. Between commercial and commercial, there's a 15-foot buffer for each commercial lot. The reason we called that out is, one, for aesthetics reasons. We wanted to create aesthetically pleasing developments along the corridor. Also, when you look at our zoning ordinance, if you look at what's allowed in our commercial district, it varies very much. It's not like the city where we have a C1, C2, C3, C4. We have one commercial district. So if you look at the things that are allowed in our commercial district, you could have lot 2 could be a daycare, and lot 1 could be a contractor storage yard or something. And that was another reason we kind of incorporated those landscaping requirements between commercial lots, because you can have such a variety of uses within the commercial district.
So given the fact that he actually owns them both, now see, in my mind, I'm looking at, okay, so Mr. Aston and his partner, they own the rest of the land to the highway, I assume. So they could plop in 3 buildings and say, well, we own them all, so we don't need any variance, is what you're saying, or no setbacks in between those buildings.
I guess I didn't understand the
Well, if
question.
you've got,
If they're all under one
Yeah.
lot.
if they're all under one
Yeah.
lot, if you built 3 different buildings, well, now I don't need those. That,
Mhm.
what you're doing right there.
Yeah, so if this was 2 acres, 1 2-acre lot, they could build 3 buildings there. They wouldn't require any landscaping between them. 3 different uses on one property, basically.
That's what, my only thing is this, okay, the guy owns both lots, so it's, I know one's financed differently.
The issue that we run into is if we don't require any landscaping, likely they're just going to pave all the way up to the parking, the lot line. The issue is if he were to sell lot 1, he loses some of his required parking, in which the conditional use permit recalled that we'd have to come back and review the site plan. The other issue is we'll never, so say someone else new comes into lot 1, how do we tell them that they have to tear out asphalt and put a 15-foot landscaping buffer in there? I don't think we could ever get, even if that were to go to court, I would think it would be hard for us to justify tearing out asphalt.
You allowed it.
So is the issue that there are 2 lots platted, or that they are under different ownership?
No, the issue is that, and because of financial reasons,
I got that.
they platted 2 lots
Right.
prior to getting approval, site plan approval.
And even if, because there are 2 lots, even if it was the same owner without any of this.
Yeah. If
contract
Sam owned all this and developed it into 5 commercial lots, this 12 acres.
I got that.
Yep.
My question, listen carefully to my question, if it's 2 lots,
Yep.
same owner,
Yep.
would the buffer be required?
Yes.
That's what I thought. So
Because
it's a lot issue, it's not an
It's the
ownership,
lot.
it's a
Yeah,
issue.
it's the lot.
Because
line.
we get in, shoot, I don't own anything, my bank owns that, right? So I mean, it's not ever one of those situations, it's how it's platted.
Yeah.
Right, got it. Thank you. Other questions for Dustin, commissioners?
Dustin, didn't we establish with the Red Rock corridor that allowed, especially with the lots, that they would be separated because of that buffer?
Yeah, essentially, they could pave their parking all the way up to this property line,
Okay.
but if they were to build a building over here, they'd still have to be set back so many feet, 10 feet, I believe it is. But because of the corridor overlay district, it actually adds an extra 5 feet for these commercial lots to have a little bit more space in between there. It kind of, like I said, it was more aesthetically pleasing things. We even discussed fencing and stuff like that at the corridor thing, and we nexted all that, and we said, landscaping. The landscaping is based on it's a 15-foot required buffer, and then based on the linear footage of the lot line is how many trees are required. So this is 225 feet, so it's 5 trees per 100 linear feet, so that's 12 trees on each side of the property, and they have to be evenly spaced throughout the buffer.
Yes.
Yeah, now that takes into account, since they're using a joint driveway, is there the setback then to where the trees start would
Yeah.
also be
Yeah.
written down someplace.
Yeah, so obviously, since there's a joint access there, we can't have the trees coming all the way out into the access point. So,
Yeah.
and obviously, this site plan hasn't been approved, but we're accepting of the way they've shown the landscaping. Obviously, they don't want to even have it on there, but if this was the site plan that were to come in with that landscaping there, we'd be okay with it being set back. So obviously, we got to provide space for the driveway access and the in and out traffic that's going to happen between the lots.
Thank you, Dustin. Is the petitioner here?
Sam Anson again for Matt Sapari. Again, this is the difficulty in writing any kind of legislation, rules, and regulations on this. This is clearly a unique situation, but it comes down to me to more common sense. And I will go on the record, even though I won't own Lot 1, other than having a vendor's interest in the contract for deed, I don't have a problem cutting out 15 feet of asphalt, and I don't believe Mr. Sparty is going to have a problem cutting out 15 feet. The intent, again, not to skate around issues here, but the thumb is going to be, let's take a disaster scenario, and he loses Lot 1. Whoever ends up with Lot 2 then, because now he's in non-compliance with that use, whoever ends up, so presumably he would go into default on that and lose that as well. It's not going to be the same type of use because he no longer is meeting the parking criteria. So the whole premise on putting those controls on the first deal is going to salvage this part of it too, in the event that it really and truly becomes two separate owners. So that's kind of what we're appealing to, is that it's kind of silly. I mean, like I say, if everything goes, and it should, like everybody's planning here, yes, it was done solely for financing, and that is a fact. And once he completes the contract on the other deal, I have no doubt he'll unify the lot into a single lot. That's why but the only reason this was done was for financing reasons. So, picture, as you study that picture, it's a waste of ground, and it doesn't make sense in this particular case. And again, there is a fallback position in the event of a default situation. So,
Sam, if it was eliminated and paved, the drainage then would be much greater. Just having an interruption in the asphalt, guides the water, or potentially it could work as a bioswale or something. But how would drainage go here if we pave the whole thing, so to speak?
That's such a what we're talking 15 or 30 feet by. It's not going to increase it in a material fashion.
Right, but otherwise it would absorb some of that water, if it flowed into there.
Well, not really, because it's going to have curb, it'll have curb and gutter on it, and it's just all it's going to do is redirect it around. So I don't see it slowing the flow at all.
So, excuse me, Mr. Chair. Okay, so Sam, make sure I understand this. So you're talking about totally eliminating those trees, right?
Eliminating that divider, yes.
That's what totally eliminating.
Right. Yeah, landscaping would be made up in other areas on the green space. And I don't know how familiar you folks are with the site out there, but to the south, I know there was a question raised on that south edge there. There is a major drainage way that comes through there on that south side of this property. Not on the property, but just off in the ground there.
If I may, the property to the north there, though, is pretty steeply higher, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't say it's steeply higher. Where he's building the building is
lower.
It is.
But above them, that water eventually, I'm just thinking about drainage. Sorry. Potentially it's water from up there is going to go somewhere too.
Correct. There's no question about it. But the one thing the law is clear on is now that he's a downstream owner, if we're hard surfacing that, we cannot put more water onto him or the downstream user than what was there prior. So those things will have to be dealt with as we develop the stuff further to the north.
I just had one more, and I apologize for asking an unrelated question. A sewer system for this type of facility where you've got a kitchen and everything, is that different than a regular septic tank? You have, like,
There's
different
special
traps?
grease trap requirements for the kitchen.
I thought
yeah.
there was. I just wanted to, that was just a curiosity question. Thank you.
Sam, I was just wondering if there's another way to skin a cat, although you mentioned curb and gutter. I'm not sure if curb and gutter is a requirement in a parking area here. So if you eliminated the curb and gutter, it seems that staff is concerned that should Lot 1 revert to different ownership, that somebody would have to tear it up. I get your point that that's their burden. It's just a requirement. But is another way to skin a cat is it doesn't look like you're putting any more asphalt down than if you were to just eliminate that and move that parking from Lot 1 up to the lot line. The amount of asphalt placed doesn't, I don't know whether you're really increasing it. So could you just leave, let's say there was, if the commission wanted to be lenient with how long it takes before you put something other than grass in there, but maybe it's a 2-year plan to get the shrubbery and the other landscaping, but why not configure the parking lot in that shape, have the same amount of, in my mind, same amount of asphalt, just grass it for now, and later on come back, put the shrubs in, you know, if there was some leniency in the timeline, which is normally, I think, a year. And then you've diminished their concerns about if it reverts to a different owner, there's no tear up because it's already complying with the setback.
Well, and the only thing it does is this with snow removal in particular, it's really a cumbersome scenario, and given that all things being equal, he's going to own both of those anyway, and so I really think, and I think that with the thumb that we've left on there on the other deal, I really believe that the county's going to be protected on that. And like I say, I have no qualms going on the record as having the vendor's interest in Lot 1. And, you know, it's just not a big deal to saw cut that out and tear it out. It isn't. So if that's the concern, it's not a big deal to do that.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Hassan? Thank you.
You bet.
Are there others that would like to speak to this item? Hearing none? I think as chair, I got a vote based on what I just heard about the fact.
Yep,
Right?
you do.
Well,
Okay.
let's just discuss.
Yes.
I always respect what the guys do, you know, on this corridor work and all the work that's went in, and I'm always very reluctant to change it. Very reluctant. And especially, this doesn't have to be a curb and gutter. It can just be a pavement under the grass. So you don't have the cost of putting the curb. You still have the same pavement. Wayne brought up a very good point there. And that's where I would tend to support the denial.
I guess I would, Mr. Chairman, I guess I would support, I think, the denial too, from the simple fact that, and it goes back to what Mike says a lot, you do it once, it's precedent, then somebody else, oh, but I own both of them, type of thing, come in to us and want the same variance if we grant it once, that I hate to set the precedence that doing that.
Your motion?
Well, let me just make I think it would not be that easy to convince the next person to tear it up. At the same time, if this was one lot, we would not have this problem, and so we have this funny little situation here. And I think that you know, it's hard enough to be in business anyway. I think that having a buffer on the north end would be sufficient for me. That would just be my view.
Okay, Mr. Madam Chair, okay, so Commissioner Barth, let me just ask you that, okay. Somewhere in this, okay, so I'm just picturing this, and I'm driving around the road and I just see this big empty parking lot in a building. Might be a nice building, but it's just empty. Now, if you at least required some trees on the north side of the parking that you're proposing here, at least it would do something for the aesthetics of the thing. And then it isn't just, you know, a piece of blacktop in the pasture, basically. you know, and I think it would look so much better. That's why I like the looks of some, I guess I like trees and shrubs. I'm kind of bad that way maybe, but to me that's just normal. You should have trees and shrubs to make it look good. And by putting that in there, you're at least required to plant something in there.
There will be on the north side. That part is all going to be tree lined. That's not the issue there.
North of the asphalt or on the north edge of the?
On the north edge of the lot. Of lot 1, so if you go to the far north edge, that will be placed in there. It's not depicted on this drawing, but that is the way there'll be trees in there.
Mr. Chairman? I sat on the Red Rock corridor with several other people, and we took a lot of deliberations, thought about what that whole area would look like. We knew that that particular area was a commercial area, didn't know what would happen in that area. There's no doubt, and there's still more that could come. But since they are 2 lots, there needs to be a separation there, and it's very hard for me to think anything different and set a new precedent here by saying that we're not going to deny this.
Mr. Chairman, to answer Commissioner Barr's concern, I understand all about money in business, it takes more, but I don't think we're really costing them any more by doing this, since there's not, you know, we're just requiring pavement, we're not requiring curb and gutter, you know, significantly more. And that's why I said, I'd still support the denial.
Need a motion?
I'll move for denial.
I'll second that.
More discussion?
Well, I would just say, I guess, in the sense that apparently unanimity is required for us to take any action, I will go ahead and support the action.
Okay. Any further discussion? We got a motion to deny the variance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that takes us through the normal items on the agenda, and then are there any old business items that you guys want to update us on?
Not that I know of. No, I don't have any items.
New business and Vision 2035?
Have we been sued by anybody?
Well, the gun club, we took action on the gun club last Tuesday. That was approved with some modifications, I guess is the best way to put
Big
it.
Sue one.
The Big
Yeah.
Sue,
I guess it was 2 weeks ago. No, it was last Tuesday.
What modifications on
2 weeks
2
ago.
weeks ago.
Well, basically it came out to be the same pretty much as you recommended. Pecos left in the fact that they had to keep the one long range closed until they put the baffles up. He just reworded some things, so essentially the same.
100-yard range until
Yeah.
You get the devils.
And I think the proponents were happy, and I've not heard from opponents.
I just wanted to give you just a kind of heads up of our cleanup projects. I know I brought this to you previously, so just kind of overall for what we had for 2012. Here is just a photo of the pit that we used for the cleanup project this past fall. Again, you can see here are the numbers, the totals that we've had from the fall of 2010 to the fall of 2012. 400 and almost 490 tons of material that we've removed over the couple years. And then as you move farther down on here, it shows you the invites, how many residential properties we've invited each time. And you can see through 2012, about 5,600 invites have been sent out over the 2-year time frame. I think here is the cleanup projects that we've done. All the slashed and colored areas are where we have been and the properties that we have invited so far. So you can see that we've hit up almost every populated area in the county. There's some more rural areas that we're going to be doing, and I'll show you them next. On the right-hand side, you can see that we've done 22 events, 5,600 residential properties, approximately 488 tons of material. And again, that was from fall of 2010 to fall of 2012. Looking at them areas, again, the ones that we have done are in the green now. The area that we're going to be doing and servicing for the cleanup project this May 4th, which is not this coming Saturday. It's a couple weeks away. That area in the orange on the left, the northwest side of the map here, which is 6 townships that we will be having the cleanup project at the Tri-Valley High School. So we'll be up in that area. So our map after that one will look a lot larger because we're taking in 6 townships right there. We are proposing something in the blue shaded area on the northeast corner. We don't have a lot of funds left after. I anticipate we will not have very much funds left after the cleanup at Tri-Valley. Thinking maybe we'll do a tire thing or something else and just do a couple evenings. Maybe it's a Friday and a Saturday, just so it gives some other options or during the week. That we can be there and just take some tires or something else that we can't do a full cleanup for them properties.
Is the cost dependent upon what type of material you get in the tonnage you haul away? Is that the cost primarily?
It's really some of that is like we'll collect tires in this one on May 5th, 4th, 4th. Because we don't know.
Non-snow day.
Yeah. So if we have a lot of tires, I'm $135 a ton to get rid of the tires. Everything else is approximately $35 a ton. And if I get a wood chipper in there, I mean, I can get if I don't have to do big containers or front loaders for a lot of wood. And I'm guessing this year we'll have a lot of branches, that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that we can get a wood chipper. I've left some messages. It doesn't seem like they're busy. So I'm hoping that we'll still be able to get one because it saved us probably $2,500 at least by having a wood chipper and not having the front loaders or having Novak service us for that type of material.
Are you going to push it out maybe so that those wood chippers are back and available and you don't have to worry about snow?
You know what? It would be great if we were able to do that. I don't think our funding runs out for this grant at the end of June, so we'd be out of luck after a bit. I just have a few photos here. Again, here's at the Minnehaha gravel pit location. You see our staff at work here, loading up here. That U-Haul we actually went and picked up. We have something in place that if somebody needs some help, needs some assistance, we can go pick up some things. So we rent a trailer and go pick up and help some. And this was more than likely it was an elderly a gentleman that needed some assistance. So it was kind of nice that we were able to provide that service. Again, it was kind of dark when we started off in the morning. Pretty foggy out, so we had the cones out there. But it was a great area that we had. Again, you can see the wood chipper here on the top left. People brought items. They can strap them to the top of their van. However they get them, they get them there. And then also Split Rock Township, your own Bonnie Duffy there on the bottom left. We'd love to have a picture of her and everyone.
And we thank you.
And this area, I guess, what I'm told, looks a lot different today in this photo than what it does currently in the Pine Lake Hills area that is now full of branches. Probably looks like a big snow pile. Again, just some other photos of staff and the people that were out helping each other as we did this event. A lot of good community service there, I guess, if you will, and a lot of residents helping each other. Again, we are also in Renner. Again, staff here assisting the people that would come in and out, and people that get stuck in the dumpsters, apparently, looks like.
Pack it in.
So anyway, that's all I had for you. Again, here's just the map of the areas that we've been. We've serviced a lot of areas and had a lot of happy people and people that want us to come back again.
And now we're holding our own the 18th of May. We're going to try one.
Yeah,
Just
cool.
Yeah.
I have to admit that I was a skeptic, really, because I didn't understand why you'd want to triple handle things because you can just move it straight to the dump. But it's worked out fantastic. So congratulations, you're building a sense of community. I can't believe all the stuff you collected.
And it's free.
Yeah.
That says a lot too.
It's the federal government's money. That was the
Yeah.
thing.
Well, yeah, but for the
there's no such thing as a free lunch.
yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah, but you pay for it one way or the other, though, sometimes.
Pat, did you find any good
So if we
items
don't spend the
in
money,
this
nobody
stuff?
else will.
No, I mean,
have found some
it costs money. It costs money for us to chase after them to clean it up. So I mean,
Yeah, right. No, it's worked out